Welcome to Conversations in Between the Realms, a podcast where the mystical meets the everyday. Join Amanda Nova and Beth Renov each week as we dive into the profound journey of awakening, sharing our experiences, insights, and the lessons that guide us toward our divine purpose. Together, we awaken and guide our souls and others, exploring the magic of living in the 3D while staying connected to the higher realms, embracing the challenges, and celebrating the growth. You've been guided here for a reason. Trust in the journey and let the unfolding begin.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Conversations in Between the Realms. I'm Amanda Nova, and I'm here with my friend and co-host, Beth Renov. And today, we don't know what we're going to be talking about. I think we're going to see. I think we're going to chat about signs and synchronicities and all the things in the universe that have been going on this week. So I'm happy to be here. We are recording on Valentine's Day, but they'll be released next week. And yeah, hey Beth, what's going on? How are you?
Happy Valentine's Day and hi everybody. And in true synchronicity, I have seen hearts everywhere this week in nature. Like today I took a walk and literally the stains from the snow were in hearts. So talk about synchronicities.
Yes,
right?
yes. And you've been sending them to me and I was like, we have to talk about signs and these things because I told you I've also been seeing repeating numbers everywhere. I've been seeing 222, 222, 222, like constantly. And yesterday I drove to the wrong grocery store and by accident, but then being how I am of there's signs in the universe. I'm like, there's a reason I was sent to this wrong grocery store. There nothing
Right.
happened. But I started seeing fives everywhere. I was like, okay, there's a reason.
Change.
Yeah. And it was 20 minutes out of the way. And the first thing I thought of was like, maybe there was like, I don't know, there was a reason I didn't go the regular route that I was supposed to go. Like I did see a lot of things like that, but then also I was like, maybe there was an accident or something. So signs are real.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, that's what my mom always told me. She's like, don't get like upset in traffic because it's probably like you were meant to be there because something else was supposed to happen.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I believe and what I think. So I was just like, it's okay. There's a reason. And then I started seeing confirmations. So I think it's so cool that you've been seeing hearts on Valentine's Day. I feel like,
oh yeah.
What do you think?
And this is like, well, I think it's because of like the message of love, right? So, and like I listened, you sent me Dolores Cannon and I'd never heard of her. And today their message, like the one I listened to was like, we're really talking about what's the only real thing in this world is love. And literally after I see the hearts, but even earlier in the week, like I was helping my brother watch his daughter and her milk, like she spilled it a little bit. And the way that the bottle like was on the table, when I lifted it up, the stain was in a heart. And this is gross, but I was like bleeding. I scratched a cut and I put like a tissue on it. And the tissue, I take it off and it's red little hearts. Like that's how the stains came out. And like I obviously wasn't gonna post like my blood on social media.
No,
but I'm like, that's crazy. Like it was like a few days before Valentine's Day.
Oh my
like these weird things.
That's so strange.
It is so strange. And so I've channeled before that I'm supposed to write this book the new way. And then I'm listening to this podcast, you tell me, and all of a sudden they start talking about the new way with the new earth. And I'm like, oh, sign. Because I was thinking about writing. I'm like, I have like nothing to write about. And it was like, here we go.
Yes. And it's so funny too, because we're talking about Dolores Cannon, who, you know, I think a lot of people that are into new age stuff, or even people who are into aliens, I think know about her because I think she goes to a lot of UFO conventions, or she used to. She passed in 2014. So the even stranger thing is that you and I are listening to these podcasts with her.
Right.
They're from something that happened in 2010.
Right.
Like, so it's so bizarre. It's so strange.
And another synchronicity, the one I decided to watch today, I looked at the air date and it was November 3rd, which is my anniversary on Valentine's Day, which is about love. And I'm just like, all these things like are just unraveling, you know?
Yeah, it's been a really, really strange week. I taught last night. I had a Kundalini activation. And so it's funny you're saying this about the heart because I didn't do anything that was themed for Valentine's Day, but somebody reached out to me today and they were asking about what came up for them. And I was talking about the heart space, and I had pulled something literally out of their heart space and out of their mouth and told her, and I was saying that there was a block that was blocking her ability to listen to her heart. And so a lot of times, like, we have, things that come up and we have things that we're wondering if we're going to go one
Mhm.
direction or another. And I was like, are you like feeling like you can't figure out your path and you're blocked in listening to like the heart space? And when she felt it come out, she said that she was like making noise. Remember last time we were talking about voice stuff? Like, she was saying that it was the first
Yeah.
time that she had an audible release. And so I was like, it's really funny that
Wow.
it's near Valentine's Day. And like, I was feeling so much in people's chest yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, it's like people, if you're in a relationship, you think about love and your heart, and it's like, I think it's like a time of reassessment, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the new year, but for like relationships. And it's like, okay, it's Valentine's Day. Am I with someone? If I'm with someone, are they the right person? How are we doing?
Hmm.
And you have to feel into your heart to assess like how you're doing, what you really want, what you
Hmm.
need, or if it's going great, like feeling it in your heart.
Yeah.
And if you're not with anybody, deciding, do I want to be with someone? What is blocking me? And going into your heart space to be like, what is stopping
Yeah.
me if I do want a relationship,
Yeah.
So I feel like it's like a heart centered kind of day, not even because it's like Valentine's
Yeah.
Day, like let's get chocolates in a heart shaped box.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's that whole thing too about where you're like, we're always like, trust your gut, trust your heart versus head. And I do think that there is something there about the source being love. And I think that's what Dolores talks
Hmm.
about. And I think that that's
Right.
what everything comes back to, is love in that heart center. So I've just been feeling so much connection there in the green, in the hearts,
Hmm.
even in, taking it a step further. There's so much with Venus connected to today. And I was thinking about that
Mm.
since I think it was last week that Venus went into Aries. So, like, we're having all of this love stuff come up, but it's all about beauty and creation and art too. It's like the
Hmm.
the Venus goddesses, it's all of that energy. And that is what manifestation is, right? It's all about creation. So
Right.
there's so much here, I think, beyond just like Valentine's Day, because I don't really celebrate Valentine's Day.
No, I
Yeah,
don't really either. Yeah.
I did
I
get some
mean,
roses, I'm not gonna lie.
yeah. I mean, I bought my wife like the most beautiful bouquet, and the one thing
Mm.
about being in the sticks is like you get like Books level like $100
Ooh.
bouquets for like
Oh my
$20.
goodness. Wait, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
did
they're
get
really
some
pretty.
flowers. I did get my daughter a cookie that was in the shape of a heart.
Uh-huh.
So,
Oh,
yes,
that's
we are kind of like leading into that. But I think, yeah, I'm feeling a lot of signs coming out lately. And what I think is so cool about being on this journey is that the more that you open yourself up, the more that clues come in. And
hmm
it doesn't all get revealed to you at once. So you do have these little clues, these little signs that are kind of taking you. It's like these little
hmm
crumbs, right? That are kind of, you're following on this journey.
right.
And I feel like with you and I, that's how we receive things. And I think the more you pay attention, the more that you are open to these things happening. And you had a
Hmm.
big one
Totally.
last night. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but like, you had a huge
Oh my god. I
cookie.
felt I felt like manic. I was just like, what? Like, so I have signs a lot, but this was just like, and okay, so I was talking to my therapist, and yes, my therapist is coming up a lot. I don't know why, because I don't normally talk about her. But I was just saying, like, I feel so blocked from receiving money
Mhm.
and like my relationship to money and feeling like I'm not worthy of it. And I was like, I need like a step by step guide on how to break this, because I'm doing all this manifestation, I'm meditating, I'm picturing it, but it's not coming in, right? And I'm totally not in a fear place anymore, which I'm really happy about. But I am in this place where I'm not understanding
Yeah, you're also
where
like,
is
where's
it?
it
Like,
coming?
how,
You're like, I'm not
yes.
afraid anymore, but also, where is it?
Right. Like, I'd
I need
also,
it.
like, love some. Yeah. But also, like, what we talk about is, like, we're not here because we want to live in mansions and just buy
Yeah.
things. Like, we want a quality of life that enables us to be at the highest vibration and do the highest amount of good for everybody,
Hmm.
you know? Like, and I was saying yesterday, I'm like, I would do my job for free if I had the money to live and be
Yeah.
comfortable, you know? And I want to be able to afford all the self-care things for
Hmm.
myself because they're so important to do this work. Even just as a therapist, it's important to do that work,
Yeah.
you know? So I need money to do that. I need to pay my bills. I need to, you know, take care of myself in different ways.
Yeah.
And we were like both like, yeah, I don't know why, like, where is this block? We were both laughing because we're like, we just need like a step-by-step guide. And then this woman, Annie, I think we brought her up last time too,
Yes,
but
we're
we're kind of obsessed with Annie, but I feel like she's like broke us into
hmm
this a little bit,
yeah.
right? So I feel like we have to give a shout out to her.
Yes.
So I forget her name. She changes her name a lot, but what is it on Instagram? We'll link something later,
Yeah,
but she
we'll link
does.
her in there because I think she just rebranded, so I don't know what it is,
Yes,
but we'll put
right.
her link. But she does past life regressions, and I think for both of us that was a big opening on. And we'll do an episode I think where we talk about past lives and talk about some of this
Right.
stuff. But I think it's like,
Right.
yeah, so she's opened a lot of that stuff. She's very connected and mystical in that way, reading the Akashic
And I
records.
totally. And she opened both of us up to like receive our gifts and clear out like our past life stuff that was getting in the way of us being on this journey. It was like kind of like the first step on our journey, really.
Yes.
And um so anyway, I don't remember how I got on the oh, so Annie posted something. We obviously follow her on social media. So she posts something and I see my name. It's like Bethor, and like it has Hebrew under it, and of course it catches my eye. I'm Jewish. I'm like, that's random, and it's called, I think, the Arbatel or something. It's something in Christianity, but it's about these spirits and these spiritual beings, and one of the second lowest one is called Bethor. And I'm like, I need to like look at this. I don't know why, but like you get those pings of like, I don't know why. I could have easily just passed and be like, oh,
Yeah,
cool,
but
you
I have
know?
to look
But
into this. Yeah.
I was like, I have to. There's something that will not let me. And did I go down the rabbit hole? Okay. So I knew just from Hebrew, Beth or like Beit and or. Beit means house, or means light. So it's like house of light. And I feel like I'm a light worker. So that like made so much sense. And then I go down the rabbit hole, and the archangel who's associated with it is Zachiel. And they said in this pendant, I read this whole, or I read like 50 articles about this. So in a pendant, there is a circle on the left, which is the feminine, and a circle on the right, which is masculine, and it's Bethor and Zachiel,
Mm.
and or Zadkiel, but it can be called Zachiel. I was supposed to be a boy and my name was supposed to be Zach. And
Oh
then
my
last
oh my
minute,
God.
like I was born in a time where you didn't have ultrasounds to see what sex you were going to be. So they came
I
out,
like
my
how you just
parents
said
had
that like you came from like the time of like Jesus. Like what? I came
I
from a
came from
time.
50 BCE. No, but I am like getting to that age where it is like I'm from like 3,000 years
Oh
ago.
my God.
But you know, I'm from that time, and I have two older brothers, so my mom's like, I know what it feels like to carry a boy. So
Hmm.
she was so convinced. They decided on Zach and Zachary, and that was it. And then when I came out, they had like talked about like girl names,
Hmm.
but not seriously because it was like they didn't really think there was a chance. So I came out and they were gonna name me Brie or Brielle or Brianna, I don't remember, or Bailey. That was one. And then last minute, my dad's like, I really like the name Beth, you know? And it's really weird because my oldest brother's name is Seth. So it's like, yeah, you have another child with that name. So yeah, it's familiar. But they went with it, and my mom was like, I don't even care, just like name her, you know? So, and also what I'm just realizing now is my middle name's Alana. So it's Beth El, which means El is God in Hebrew. So it's like house of God,
Yeah.
you know? So there were just like so many things. And then I'm seeing it's related to the planet of Jupiter.
Hmm.
And I look up Jupiter. It's about growth, expanding your horizons, abundance, and like all this stuff, and then it was guiding people. Then I look up Bethor, like even more, and this person, this god or spirit, was a guide for people, which I'm
So
opening a
insane.
soul guide business to expand your horizons, lead you to truth. It was just like
Yes.
everything was me. And then I would like the symbol, there's an eagle. Like when I did Amanda's activation, I kept seeing myself soar through the sky. And I'm like,
Hmm.
I don't, and like I was flying and soaring. And I think I used the word soar. I'm like, I just see myself soaring over mountains, you
Yes.
know?
And remember I kept
And
writing truth too? Like everything with Beth
yes,
is truth. Truth seeker, wisdom, like that is you. There's something also about you speaking the truth. Like you have to
yes.
be speaking these things. That's so crazy.
Yeah, so it was just like one thing after another. I think you're one of the other ones, but then the article gave me conflicting things, so I have to look more into it. And it was like 3 a.m, so I'm like, I do have to go to sleep.
By the way, Beth was also sending me all of this stuff. I didn't see it till this morning when I woke up and I was like digesting all of it. I was like, what is going on? But it's funny because you did send me one of the other ones and it was the moon. But then I
Yes.
really connected with one, I think it was hate. Hagrid?
Hag
Yeah, Hagrid or
Haggy
Hagrid or I have to look it up. They're called they're like almost like the Olympians or something.
Olympians. Yeah. Yeah.
Which on a whole other just side note, I am going through this whole thing watching the Marvel movies again. So I really do think I'm
Uh-huh.
very like I think tonight Rob and I are we're watching them all in order because we haven't seen all of them. I think tonight Thor is up. So I'm also just very much in that headspace. I'm like, it's the Olympians.
Right.
It's like it's Odin. Like I don't know, but I feel like that's where
Right.
we're at. But there was one that was related to Venus, and I felt like that was actually the one that resonated with me more. Even
Yeah.
though the one that Beth sent me had to do with the moon and fertility and all of that, but I felt like the one that was with Venus was more related to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I have to look into them, but I'll tell you who you are.
Yeah, so
And you might be like a mix, you know?
yeah.
Um, but it was just so dead on. And like, okay, so it's called a pendant and a seal or something. I don't remember. A ring of Arabaxis and a seal of Arabaxis. And the seal of Arabaxis is a bird and it goes into two legs that are snake heads. And I
Mhm.
was just like, Amanda, that seal. Like, that is so crazy. And the thing with Amanda is like, for years I've gotten signs that I'm like, I don't understand like why I'm seeing this. Like, I don't even remember now what they were, but I was
It's
like, I
always
know I need to
snakes.
it's like years ago it was like other things that
Hmm.
directly like related to you. And so I would get the sign, and then when we would meet it would be like, oh, okay, now I know why I saw that. That was a message for you. Like
Yes.
you need to do this. So it's like sometimes the signs aren't even for you, they're for someone else. And
Hmm.
you like, it's like, why would I pay attention to that? Why would I keep it in my memory?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's so weird that like there's so many things you pass on a daily basis that you don't even think twice about. But when it sticks out to you and there's something inside you that's like, either look this up or keep this in like the memory bank,
Hmm.
that is a sign.
Yes.
And you'll feel it somewhere in your body.
Yes, 100%. And everybody receives signs differently. And I think it's also about learning how to read them the
Right.
way that you receive them. There are some people who really get a lot of animal signs and a lot of animal
Mm-hmm.
messages. I have a client who has the most insane animal things happen with her. Like the first time we ever did an activation, I had her do a contract breaking ritual, and the next day there was a nest with
Oh
like
my God.
eggs there. Like the next day, like there was like a
It's
birds, and
crazy.
she has birds fly at her house. Like they'll
Oh
be
my
like in her
God.
house. She lives in Texas, so it's like it's crazy, but she will tell me the most
Uh-huh.
insane stories, like with snakes, with all kinds of animals. They show up in her house. Like she's had like when she found out she was pregnant, her cat was also passing on. It like happened to her twice. Like
Mm.
random stuff like with animals. So some people receive animal stuff.
Yeah.
It's just it's so crazy, and I think that that's the claircognizance too, is just the knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Something
Yes.
happened to me recently, and I haven't told you this yet. I was saving this for the podcast, but
Mm-hmm.
I was watching something and they were talking about the pyramid texts, which is
Mm-hmm.
all of the stories of the gods coming down and all of the stuff that they found, all of these texts. And I was watching something, and that's my claircognizance is like I look at my husband and I'm like, I wrote those. he's like, he's like,
But it's true, probably,
and I was
right?
like, I just know that I was a part of that. like, and it was
Yeah.
like there has been like, have been multiple times where like I'll see something like that and I'm like, oh yeah, I was a part of that. Or that's not what that was for. Like if we're watching like historical
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And I think
Right.
that we receive these signs, we try to understand them, but like you were mentioning last time, like when you just know something or you just feel called to something, we always question it. But the more that you
Right.
follow it, the more that you are open to being like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I want more signs. Yes, I want to understand more and I want to go down the rabbit hole. I want to like be in that space.
Mm-hmm.
The more that information that we get, the more things that get sent.
Totally. And like to your point before of like seeing numbers everywhere,
Hmm.
that was like my first thing. It's
Hmm.
like I would meditate and like I remember I saw I think it was 33. I have it in my notes somewhere. I don't remember what the exact number was, but I saw cheerleaders.
Mm.
And I looked it up. Obviously, like you don't know this innately what it means, but you look it up and it is striking, like
Hmm.
how dead on it was. And it was literally like your spirit team is cheering you on.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whoa, like what? And that like opened me up to be like, I want more. Give me
Hmm.
more. And like the more you tell the universe, please send me more signs, they will.
Yeah.
Like it's no joke. Like they're really gonna send it to you in like in your face kind of way.
Yes, yes. And you can ask for things to be more clear too. Like it's kind of funny with numbers. My number has always been 87. It's just been the number that
Hmm.
I always see repeating everywhere. And I remember when I was trying to get pregnant with Aria, I would see 87s everywhere. And I remember I had a reading with another friend of mine, and my friend that had passed when I was in college had come through, and she was like, he's playing with like your child, like your spirit baby, all this stuff. And then I went to look, and she was like, oh, he's sending you signs, he's sending you signs. And then I went to go look back and realized that he passed on August 7th, 07. And so then I learned that every time I see
Oh,
87, it's actually my friend.
him.
Yeah. And that like blew my mind because it
Mm,
would had been
yeah.
years that I had been seeing that. And so like I love when I see that number because I'm like, okay, like I know that that's like I'm on the right track. Like I'm
Mm,
on. Yeah. And sometimes I'll also be like to my guides, like I'll be like, can you send a sign, but make it more clear than just sending me repeating the
right?
number?
Yes, but you get that too. And I just want to go back to what you said because oftentimes, like when someone has passed and
Hmm.
they pop into your head randomly, that is them there,
Hmm.
And like my biggest loss like recently was my dog Archie, and he had cancer, and he was my best friend. He was with me like, and this is so weird, but I knew he had to go because I was starting a new chapter of my life,
Hmm.
and he was part of the old, and as much as I didn't want to let go of him, he had to go, he had to pass, and I knew he did it for me. And it was probably the worst loss I've had yet, just because they're in your everyday, they become like your child, and like I still cry to this day thinking about him. I loved him so much. And after I was laying in bed with my wife and I was really sad, and we're like, we miss Archie. Like, I wonder what he's doing. And when he passed, I had someone come and they gave him like basically he was euthanized like at our house. And I just wanted him to be comfortable. I didn't want him to be somewhere he didn't like the vet. So I didn't want him going there. And that's the last place he'd be. And it's totally fine if you do. That was just my preference. I made a playlist and it's the most random song. It's really funny. This is like a 90s like dance song. Please don't go. so, so if you don't know it,
Is
look it
that
up.
Mike
It's like,
Posner
please don't go.
or
Yeah.
no? Is that what it is? Or no, that's a different one.
I forget the guy's name, but it's like a you went to a birthday party and it was
Oh,
like
okay.
on when you were younger. But it was like I have to like find it later and send it to you. But it's like not a heartwarming like thing you would like put on, but something was like, put this on. And he passed at that song. And the woman told me, she was like, just make sure like the song, like whenever you hear it from now on, you're going to think of
Yeah.
him. So I was like, okay. And we were in bed, like maybe like a few weeks after, and we were just sad. And we're like, we miss Archie. We were watching some movie where it was in German, like it took place in Germany. And so the music was in German. All of a sudden, Please Don't Go in German came on. And we were like, there he is, you know, he's
What?
with us.
Oh my God.
Yes, it
That's
was
so,
so
yeah.
random, but we were like, oh my God. And then I was talking about my grandma with my brother once, right after she passed. And she was really funny woman. She was very sarcastic, had a great sense of humor, and we were making fun of her. And all of a sudden, the pictures on my wall literally jumped off and smashed to the ground.
Oh
And
my
we're like,
God.
sorry, Dee Dee. Like, you know, and so it was just like when we needed her and we were missing her, like she was there,
Yeah.
you know? And then I had a reading with, I think that psychic Jessica, like years later. And she was like, oh, your grandma's here. She says, hang up your pictures better next time. And I was like, oh my God, that's
Yes.
so crazy.
Yes.
So it's all those like signs. It's
Mhm.
like, this is real. Like, just pay attention.
Yeah, 1000%. And you can ask for a sign too. Like there's
Right.
different things like, I will sometimes get really weird and odd. Like I'll be like, send me a dolphin. Like I know that I live in Connecticut and it's the winter and I know that I'm not, but I'll see
Yeah.
one somewhere, right?
Right.
So I think
Right.
it's like things like that where you're like, okay, like make it a little bit more clear. But the more that you open yourself up to receive them, and receiving information can be a song, it can be something
Mm-hmm.
that you read. Most recently, and now this keeps
Mm.
happening to me, and I didn't even tell you this happened to me again with another book. I have been
Mm.
having these experiences where I will buy a book on, a digital book, right, on Apple Books, and it'll open to a random page. And I think it was 221 and
Mm.
222 last time I that I did that.
Yeah.
This is like maybe a week or two
Yeah.
ago. And I'm like, well, I obviously need to read whatever is on this page because that doesn't normally happen when you buy a book and it starts at the
Never.
beginning. Like, what? So
Right.
I do think that there's like, you'll hear a song, and of course, what was on those pages was exactly something that was relevant to what I needed to know in that moment, what I needed to see, what I
Mm.
needed to absorb. It was really just another cookie crumb of me to go further down the rabbit hole, but I just,
Yes.
but so that just it's about figuring out the way that you receive too,
Mm-hmm.
like I think
Yeah.
always with words. So for me, it's music, it's things that are in writing, it's you speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think sometimes a lot of my stuff comes to
Mm.
you and then you tell me.
Yes, it like often does, and I'm like, I don't even know why I need to like hold this, but I know I do. Like I'm like your like what do you call it, storage
Yeah.
space.
I'm sorry.
They're like, hey, you're like the in between, and we're just gonna like hold it for her. She's not ready to hear it yet, but we have like nowhere to put it right now. I'm like, that's cool. I'm here. Like I'll just hold it, and when it's right, I'm gonna tell her. So it's totally fine, and it is. It's really like anything.
Hmm.
Like and I love like what keeps coming into my mind is this like scavenger hunt or
Oh,
treasure hunt, like,
yes.
you know,
Yes.
and it's just like every time you get another clue and it leads to something else. And when you start to open up, it's so exciting. Like every time I have this experience, it's like Christmas,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
like
And you
you're like, oh my
feel
God,
and you yes,
amazing.
and you also like the confirmation too of like so many of us who are intuitives will be like, "Oh, I have chills right now," or Beth's thing
Right.
is she always says my legs are going crazy right now.
Yes.
And
And now it's like my crown, like
yes.
it tingles.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
can feel it, and that's also confirmation that these things like I'll be saying that and I know that whatever it is that I'm saying is coming through, and you've
Hmm.
received those confirmations. So like when I find clues that I know are connected
Hmm.
to me, like my whole body goes insane. Like when I see
Yeah, it's
something and
fun.
I'm like, "Oh my God," like, and I've been on some wild, wild journeys, Dead Sea Scrolls. I've been all over the place.
Mm,
But
yeah. Well, that was happening too because Dead Sea Scrolls, my grandfather worked on them,
mhm.
and I was listening to Gene Houston. I don't even not remember, maybe Deepak Chopra,
Mhm.
one of his things, and I was like, and in my head, I'm like, this woman knew my grandfather. I don't know how, like, I don't know if she really did, but he was definitely in the place where she was at because he taught at Columbia. He was an art history professor. He was a theology professor, and something else. He had like 4 PhDs. This man spoke 7 languages. He literally walked across Europe, I think, like to get to America. Like he had he must have been magical too, because it's just like
Yes.
at that time to like be able to accomplish all that, it's just like wild. Like he drew a picture of Einstein at one of the Columbia symposiums, you know? So she was saying she was at one of these symposiums where all the religious leaders, and he was in New York, he was also teaching there and at yeshiva, I believe, too. So he was a professor at both. So he definitely would have been at this. And he was at the time a professor. So it would have, and he was a rabbi. So that's why he would have been a religious leader invited too. So, when she was talking about it, I'm like, oh, this woman definitely knew.
For
And I just
sure.
felt really called
Hmm.
to her. She also sounded exactly like my grandmother, who was
So weird.
his wife.
Yeah.
And then yesterday in the Bethor thing, so this woman says she embodies Athena, right? And I really didn't I never dove into her.
Is she a
Um
speaker? What is because we listened to her on Deepak, but like what is her what do we call her?
She
What does she do?
she is like a guide, I think.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, but she was like Hillary Clinton's like guru basically. But apparently that did not go well because people were like started to like hate her. But she was just sent. She was adopted by Margaret Mead. Like she had her own parents. Like
Okay.
her father was a writer on the Bob Newhart show. So she like started out. She was exposed to like all these amazing people, experiences, and she talks a lot about how and we can change our past, you know?
Mm.
So she was saying like she played piano as a child, but because she was constantly moving with her father because of his job, like they were always on the road, she couldn't take a piano with her, especially in like the 30s or the
Well, you
20s,
can't
you know,
really
on
take
a
a piano
train.
with you. I mean, I guess maybe there's people that can do it
Any
online.
like a keyboard, but like you're on a she's like I would have practiced on the train, you know, because they weren't going by plane yet.
Hmm.
So she's like, when I got older, I wished I had played violin. So she would meditate and picture herself as a child, like playing violin in her brain. So it almost like taught her how to do it, and
What?
it became the experience. And then as an adult, when she went to take violin lessons, they're like, oh, you've been doing this a while. She's like, no, I just started like a month ago.
I did
You know,
not
and she was
listen.
playing
That's
like
insane. I did not listen to that
it's
whole thing. Yeah.
insane. Yeah, she like so people come to her to basically do what I want to do, you know,
Yeah.
and like really enhance people's gifts, like to channel messages and stuff. Like that kind of cool things that we love, you
Hmm.
know? And just to like help mankind like open up their gifts and really um you know, get to a higher vibration and frequency. So, and she's 87, and like, I
87.
obviously,
By the way,
yeah,
back to the
I'm
number
like,
87.
oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Wow, that's so weird.
Yeah.
So he's here.
Yes.
Um, what are you trying to tell us?
That you know her and
Um,
that you need to go work with her. Beth tells me this, and I'm like, Beth, she's 87. If you're gonna reach out,
yeah,
reach out. If you feel called, the time is now,
I
my friend.
did. I know. And today on my walk, I'm like, I need to like call because I
Yeah.
emailed. I'm like, well, she's 87, so maybe she's
I'm
not
sure
doing
she has an
email.
assistant or something. I hope that if she has young people that
No, but I'm like,
care.
oh God, I probably like contacted her when there's something wrong. But she said her biological age is like 40, you
Yeah.
know? So I feel like she's going to be like, my grandma lived to like 105 and she, almost 105. And she was really, in good
Yeah.
shape till about like 101, 102. So I feel like this woman's going to be
Yeah.
like her. She's got grandma Sid energy.
Yeah.
So like, but it's so funny when you just feel called to these things. And I was just like, I kept listening and it kept feeling like really aligned,
Yeah.
you know? And so she said she embodies Athena last night in the Bethor thing. Athena came up as one of the people that is aligned, like a goddess that's aligned with Bethor. And I'm just like, how many more signs
Yeah,
do I
it's just
need that,
synchronicities. It's things lining up. And I didn't tell you this,
yeah,
but the other day I was doing sort of like a lucid dreaming type of meditation, like astral type of thing. Yeah,
projection?
like
Yeah.
astral project. I was just, just going on a little journey as I like to
Mm-hmm.
do. And there was an owl that came and sat on my shoulder. And
Mm.
I was like, what is your name? And the owl was like, Athena. And owls
Oh,
are very related to
legs
Athena.
going.
Yeah, so they're like very, very connected. And it was so fascinating because they were guiding me on this journey. They were like, okay, like we're gonna go here. I write down everything that I channel. I always tell people to do this because I don't remember ever. So I always write
Mm-hmm.
everything down. So I'm sure I have where I ended up on that particular journey. But I was like, okay, like let's go. And then I'm like, it's probably Beth.
Probably just guiding you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so it was a
Oh my
really, really
God.
wild. But that's another thing is like these animals that come in, right? Like, these different things. And our soul goes into other people's stuff. So that was like a through
Yeah.
line. I was waiting for you to get there so that I could tell you that. Like I was like,
Oh
oh,
my
Beth's gonna say
God.
that at some point, like on the podcast, and I'm gonna tell her.
Oh my God, that's so crazy. And like you've been seeing birds everywhere, like
I know.
crazy birds like around your house. And
I know.
also like what you are your visions of like wings coming out of you and just there are birds everywhere for you. Like birds
Yes.
are your symbol.
Yes, I have been working with the bird tribes so much, which is really there's a lot of celestial groups that, have wings, and it's so fascinating because I myself have feel like I've energetically released my wings, like where in a space where I had pain in like my shoulders, where like I
Mm,
felt them, come out, and really like so many deities, so many gods, goddesses in history, right? They related to the
mhm,
birds and wings. And so last night I hosted this activation, like I had mentioned, and a girlfriend of mine who Jarena, who's
mhm,
also a shaman as well, and she always has insane visions when she comes to the Kundalini activations. I'm
mhm,
just obsessed with her because of that.
mhm,
So anyway, she tells me that I, as I was speaking light language, I was speaking a very like indigenous sort of,
mhm,
bird. I've been speaking a bird like language that's I think is coming from the Blue Avians, but I don't know, there's some
mhm,
ancient tribes going on with my language. So anyway, she tells me that she sees all of these apes and she sees them have wings and like fly up in this vision, and like she
uh-huh.
follows them. And yeah, we were like I was like telling my husband, and he's like, did she watch Wicked recently? And I was like, shut up. Like you're so like,
Well, that's so weird because my hair person today was telling me about Wizard of Oz and was talking about like
yes,
the flying
yes. And
apes.
she literally saw all these apes and they were flying. But when I was working on her, I saw wings on myself. I saw wings on her, and we were standing on top of a mountain, and like we like looked at each other. And this is not the first time that I have and seen wings on her too. And it's
Right.
just was so funny. Like it was like she saw the same thing that I saw, but the wings are coming. They keep coming. And
Mm.
yeah, and we were like looking at each other at this mountain, and I told her that afterwards, bringing it back to Marvel and stuff. I was like, it was like a very Avengers type moment. I was like, we're gonna do this. She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, you
let's
are.
fly.
You're gonna heal people and awaken them. Um, yeah, and you know what's so interesting is like birds also like give you direction too. Like we saw like a flock of birds like going nuts in Jersey City last week. We went to go see our friends. And I was just like, how do they know? Like there's this communication. There has to be like telepathy in some way,
Birds
right?
are so I could do a whole episode on birds. I'm not even gonna get into my
Yeah.
obsession with birds. Like it is ridiculous, but I will say they definitely come as a sign for me. The first time ever was with that quantum leap I talked about last time. I saw a
Mm-hmm.
goldfinch in the park nearby, and that just like blew my
Mm,
life open. And I now here, now that I'm in more of a nature spot, I have been looking for an owl. There's an owl that lives here,
mm,
and
mm-hmm.
so this has been my Moby Dick moment, is trying to find this
Yeah.
owl. Because somebody told me, my two cousins saw it on Christmas. They were like, you have an owl.
Uh-huh.
They were like out like smoking. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, let me see that owl. So anyway, the other night I heard it. I think I just saw it. Something just flew, something just soared
Of
over.
course.
A
Right.
hawk just soared over. It's just it's magic. It's magic. We're
It
just
really is.
enchanted. That's all. That's all I have to say about
Right.
that. It's incredible. So
It
I've only
is.
heard the owl, but I will find that owl. I will find it.
Oh, it's gonna come to you and at like such a pivotal moment where like it all comes together. And that's the thing is like everything comes together. It feels like pieces, but when you put it all
Hmm.
together, it's such a story, and it makes so much sense. And to because I went so off track from what I was talking about in the
I
beginning with
remember
my
what we were talking
therapist.
about in the beginning.
Yeah, I was talking about like needing money and like
Yes.
how to. So this is probably a good place to like wrap up because it's coming full circle. But Bethor is also the guide for wealth.
Yes.
You go to Bethor to get wealth and protection. And I was like, okay, here we are. I'm like, that is exactly what I needed. I asked for a
And there was a
sign and
ritual.
literally,
Wasn't there like
and
rituals? Yeah.
yes, and it said you go to Bethor for guided rituals and meditations. And I was just like,
Hmm.
okay. So I said I wanted to figure out how to have wealth. I need to bring this guy in. And maybe I am him. I don't know what, but it was just all way too coincidental. Like, I don't even believe in coincidences
No, there's
anymore. It
no
was
such thing.
synchronistic.
There's no such
Right.
thing. It was exactly what you needed to see. And now you're going to do that ritual and get very, very wealthy and and then report back.
Yeah.
And also let
Yeah.
me know what that ritual is. And everyone
Right.
else wants to know as well, so we can all. Yeah.
Well, and this is the thing, it's going to be individual for
Hmm.
each person. So, but like with you, we always do these rituals, which
Hmm.
like the
Oh my
plant, it like
God.
grew out of
Oh my
nowhere,
God. Yes, I know. And we will wrap up with the wealth thing, but I do want to say into rituals, like Beth gave me a ritual to do with this tree that I basically plant tree that I inherited
Mhm.
from the previous owners of this house. And it is, I think it's like alocasia or something. It is a prosperity plant. And I started
Mhm.
working with it and doing all this like ritualistic stuff. And it had two branches, I guess, with leaves
Mhm.
on them, the
Stems, yeah.
stems with the leaves. And after the ritual, a week later, a new branch began to grow and a brand new
Mhm.
leaf. It happened so fast. It's actually not even funny.
Right.
Like it now has three branches with gigantic leaves. And I was like, this is insane. And so now I'm like, oh my God, this is my money tree. It's not like a typical money tree,
Yes.
but it's like a really, really
Right.
spiritual connected plant. And so the rituals work, and it's if you believe that they'll work.
Right. Exactly. And all of this is that you have to believe in it, and like I must have been channeling Bethor when that happened because I was like, I don't even know where this
Yeah, she
comes
gave me
from, but
herbs and
it'll
stuff.
pop
It
in.
was wild.
Yeah, like I don't know this stuff. I just look it up. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I'm like, it popped into my head. I'm gonna look, and then I tell you,
Hmm.
and it just all comes together. But now I'm like realizing like I'm channeling this like Olympian like spiritual god or
Yes.
whatever
And
it is.
if anyone knows, we will put in the show notes. We talked about a lot of things that we will link today
Yes.
in the show notes so that you all can, further. But if you know anything about any of this, reach out
Mm-hmm.
to us because I think it's
Yes,
so, so
please.
cool. And Beth and I really, yes, let us know because we want to go down those rabbit holes. We live in the rabbit hole. We don't go down them anymore.
Yes.
We're in the
Yeah.
hole. We're just like, this is where we live.
It's just like arms off of rabbit hole.
Yes.
So rabbit hole upon rabbit
Yes,
hole.
exactly.
But thank you so much for listening. This was such an enjoyable conversation, so I hope you enjoy it too.
Yes, yes. Reach out, follow us, subscribe, do all the things. I don't even know what to say with the podcast. Do all the things. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, leave us a review if you like it or if there's any topics that you want us to cover, let us know. We want this to be
Mm-hmm.
really a community type of thing, right?
Yes.
We want to include you in the conversation. So thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Yes. Happy Valentine's Day. Bye.